Hello and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, where we go beyond the numbers and get into what actually makes a business work. I'm your host, Stephanie Marshall, founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner. I help business owners who've outgrown the basics bring clarity, structure and proper systems into their business so things finally feel in control. If you want more clarity, more confidence and a business that doesn't feel like constant chaos, you're in the right place. Each week we tackle real problems, answer the questions you're probably already thinking, and give you practical steps you can actually use in around 15 minutes. So if you're ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity, then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for around 15 minutes of motivation, education and inspiration to help you build a better business each week. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Stephanie Marshall. I'm the founder of ABCS UK, a multi-award-winning boutique finance and systems partner, and I help growing businesses who have outgrown their bookkeeper move from messy, reactive finances to clear, structured numbers and systems that they can actually use to run their business properly. Because I really care about the people behind the businesses and not just the numbers. Now, today's episode is one that I wish more business owners had heard earlier, because this is one of the biggest things that I see, holding otherwise good businesses back. And it's not for a lack of effort. It's not for a lack of clients, not even for a lack of money. It's looking at the wrong numbers. You hear me talk about looking at your numbers, reviewing your numbers every single week pretty much on this podcast. If I asked you right now, what numbers do you actually look at in your business? Most people would say revenue, sales, bank balance, and maybe a rough idea of expenses, because that all feels logical, because those are the most visible, easy to obtain numbers in your business. They're easy to access, they're easy to understand, and they feel like enough. The problem is that they don't tell you what you think they do. Revenue or sales looks impressive. It's the number that people share and celebrate and talk about. But revenue doesn't tell you how much you're actually keeping, how hard you worked for that, or how sustainable it is. You can increase revenue or sales and feel worse. I've seen it happen. More pressure, more work to do, and even less clarity. Now, the one people trust the most is the bank balance. And if you go back to a couple of episodes ago, I talked about the bank balance trap. You open your banking app, you see a number, and instantly you feel something. One of two things. You tend to feel reassured or stressed. But that feeling is based on incomplete information. Your bank balance does not show tax building up in the background, corporation tax if you're a limited company, income tax if you're a sole trader, sometimes both if you're a director of a limited company who's also got sole trader income. VAT you've collected but don't own, that's a big one. Upcoming costs that haven't left yet, so suppliers that you've got terms with, 30 days, end of month, things like that you've not yet paid for, but you've already had the goods or services for. And timing differences between income and expenses. What I mean is sometimes you will have to spend quite a bit of money to manufacture and create a product. The income from that might be 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line. The bank balance is a snapshot. It's a moment in time. It's not the full picture and it's not to be relied upon. For example, if you log onto your banking app and you see £18,000 in a business bank account, you think, I'm doing well. You feel really confident. So you go and invest in that new mentor, you spend on that new merch, you commit to a marketing campaign for 6 months or a sponsorship deal. But what you don't see is £6,000 of that is VAT, £5,000 of that is tax, and £4,000 of that is for upcoming costs. And suddenly, that £18,000 isn't what you thought it was. Now let me demonstrate the opposite. You see £2,000 in your bank account. You think, oh my God, I'm behind. Oh no, that's not enough. You start to feel pressure. You start chasing more work, which if you've listened to any episode on the podcast, you hear me talk about bad fit clients. That's when it's likely that you're going to bring them on board. You start saying yes to everything that's coming in because you need to make more money, right? And you're making rush decisions because you need to make more money, right? But actually, your costs are low. You are a service-based business who has paid upfront for their software. You have a pot put to a side with your tax saved away from the main account. which is something I always advise you do, by the way, and your profit is stable, you are making money. So now you're reacting to the wrong signal. I want you to take a second and think about when you do check your numbers. And if you don't, let's pretend that you do. Are they giving you clarity, confidence, or are they just triggering a feeling? Because they're not the same thing. And we need to know which side of the scales you are with that. Now I'm going to talk about the one number that people tend to avoid. And that's profit. Because profit requires a bit more effort to understand. It's not just money in. It's what's left after everything else. And this is where the truth sits on what you currently have to play with in your business. Profit tells you, is this actually working? Am I making any money? Is this sustainable long term, or is it going to peak and trough with the seasons? And is this worth it? I have a client where I went to sit with them and do their annual tax return. And in the last 12 months, they made £2,400 profit. Now, if you're working 5, 6, 7 days a week, 160 hours a week, as some business owners do, and you're making £2,400 in a year, is it really worth it? Profit doesn't tell you how busy you are, how full your diary is, or how things look from the outside. I have seen businesses turning over £200,000, even more, and still feeling stretched, unsure, and not able to pay all their bills. Because once you factor in costs and overheads, inefficiencies in the business, and underpricing, the profit isn't where it should be. And that's not visible if you're only looking at the sales figure on the top line or the balance in your bank account. The uncomfortable truth is you can grow your business and feel worse for it if you're growing the wrong way. So you're probably thinking, Stephanie, well, what do I actually need to look at then? Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this. That's not how I roll. You don't need 10 different dashboards, 50 different reports, and complex apps all over the place. You just need clarity. There are 3 key areas and 3 things you really need to understand. Number 1, you probably guessed it, is the profit. What are you actually making in your business? Not guessing, not assuming. What are you actually making in your business? 2 is your costs. What is your business costing you to run? Because costs can creep up quite quietly, not just materials, software subscriptions, and tools. Before you know it, those subscriptions increase every April. So your phone bill, for example, that starts to build without you really realizing. And when you put that across 12 months of the year, sometimes it can be quite an increase. Also, time inefficiencies. What is your business costing you in a time sense to run? Where could things be smoother? Where could things be more streamlined? Where could things take less time and get the same outcome? And 3, what's coming up? Not what just happened, what's coming. What is your tax bill and when is it due? When is your next VAT quarter and when is that due? And what upcoming expenses do you have? Do you have a membership that has to be renewed annually? Do you have business rates that are about to jump up? Do you have insurance renewals if you pay annually? Those upcoming expenses that catch you out are the ones that we need to be aware of. And as you've probably gathered by now, this matters even more as you grow a business. Now, I presume you're looking to grow and scale by watching or listening to this podcast. When your business is small, when you're first starting out, you can get away with not knowing. As it grows, you just can't, because decisions get bigger, mistakes cost more, and pressure increases. And this is where clarity becomes essential. So the sooner we get this streamlined now, the easier it's going to be for you to grow and scale sustainably. This makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't think anybody talks about this. I'm going to be vulnerable and do it. There's an emotional impact to this too, as a business owner. Looking at the wrong numbers creates false confidence or sometimes unnecessary stress. Both are really unhelpful because neither are based on reality. If you're looking at your bank balance or your revenue only, that false confidence could catch you out and trip you up, and that unnecessary stress is no good for your health. So what changes when you look at the right numbers? Well, everything starts to shift when you understand your numbers properly, because decisions are easier. You've got facts and evidence to make decisions on and be confident in those decisions because there's evidence to back up what's going to happen and what has happened. Your pricing becomes clearer when you fully understand what your costs are. It's much easier for you to price knowing what you need to do to make a profit. Growth becomes intentional rather than accidental. We're not taking on more work because we're stressed. We're growing because we want to grow. And your stress actually reduces because you're not guessing anymore. This is where systems matter. Because once you know your numbers once, that's one thing. But knowing them once, it's not enough. You need consistency, you need visibility, and a regular rhythm. So you're not starting from scratch every single time. I'd like you to answer this question for me. If you had to explain your business numbers to somebody right now, could you? Could you simply? Could you clearly? And could you confidently? Because that's the level that we're aiming for here. As with every episode of the podcast, there is shifts that need to happen mentally, physically, emotionally to get to that next level of your business. You need to get from I look at my bank balance to I understand my business and where it is and where it's going. We need to go from reactive to intentional. And I feel like I say this every episode. We have to stop firefighting. We need to start growing intentionally and not through a panic. And we need to go from guessing to absolute clarity, because that's what's going to give you confidence to grow your business intentionally. Your one move this week is to find your actual profit number. That's your homework. Even if it's rough, even if it's not perfect, look at what came in the last financial year or 12 months, what went out, and what was actually left. Because once you know your profit, you will start making better decisions. And by this time next week, you're going to see your business differently, and hopefully for the better. So if you're currently relying on revenue or sales figures, your bank balance, or what feels about right, this is your sign to change that, because your business deserves better than partial, half-assed information. It deserves clarity, it deserves structure, and it deserves numbers that you can actually rely on. If you found this episode useful, please do like, rate, and review. It really does help more business owners find the podcast so we can all build better businesses together. And if you want support building that clarity into your business properly through better numbers and better systems, that's exactly what we do at ABCS UK. The link is in the show notes if you want to book 15 minutes in my diary to have a discovery call and see where ABCS UK can help you. Because after all, your business deserves better. Thank you so much for listening. This is a 3Bs podcast, and I will see you next week for the next episode. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. If this has helped you think differently about your business, then it's done its job. Make sure you're following or subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And if you found it useful, please do leave a review. It helps more business owners find this and start running their businesses properly. If you want more insights behind the scenes and the reality of what it actually takes to build a better business, come and connect with me on social media. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start running your business with clarity, structure, and confidence, your next step is just a click away, because your business deserves better. I'll see you in the next episode.